"Delia, could you possibly hand over your house to this girl?" "Eh?" "I intend to pay the rent properly. How about $50 a month as a sisterly discount? This house is too big for 2 people. It would be better for the house if you gave it to your sister who is planning to have a lot of children. I am Delia, 35 years old. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I have no other family except my daughter. However, I have no regrets. Now, I rather think it was for the best. I graduated from high school and took a job in caregiving. I had a husband whom I truly loved 3 years ago. I started dating Hank after a high school reunion, and we married about a year later. In high school, I secretly harbored feelings for Hank. At the reunion, when this was revealed, I was so embarrassed I wanted to crawl into a hole, but when I got home, Hank contacted me. "Did you really like me?" he asked, and impulsively, I answered, "Yes." "What about now?" he asked, and I replied, "I still do," which started our relationship. About a year later, we married, and the following year, we had a lovely daughter named Nora. Nora looks just like her father and is absolutely adorable. Her quietly sleeping form looked just like an angel. While continuing my job, I worked together with my husband to raise our child. Chasing after work and childcare, just as our daughter was about to turn 1, my husband suddenly disappeared. When I came home that day, the room was pitch dark and I could hear my daughter crying in the back. In the living room, there was a divorce paper signed by my husband and a lawyer's business card on the table. There had been absolutely no signs of my husband planning to leave. If he had fallen out of love with me, I might have understood. But leaving our daughter alone at home was unimaginable to me. At least he should have taken her to his parents' place or left her with someone. She kept crying and her voice was trembling. When I quickly made and gave her milk, she drank it with surprising ferocity. She must have been very hungry. Her diaper was in a terrible state, and I changed it immediately. I wonder how long she had been left alone. After that, there was no contact from my husband, and through the lawyer whose business card he had left, the proceedings moved forward and we officially divorced. All that was left to me was this small house I had bought before our marriage and my beloved daughter, and a meager amount of child support left by my ex-husband. His parents were furious at him for disappearing so suddenly. I'm truly sorry to leave Delia and Nora like that. He didn't even contact us. I have no idea what he was thinking. I'll never forgive him. Then they said this to me. You're divorced, and you might not want to have anything to do with us anymore, but if there's ever a time when there's no one to look after Nora, feel free to contact us. Work must be hard on you. It must be tough doing this alone. We're here if you need us, as long as it's not a bother to you, Delia. At first I hesitated, but realistically, it was a very helpful offer. I couldn't rely on my own parents due to various issues. So I decided to accept my in-laws' offer. Later, I found what I believe was my ex-husband's social media account and learned that he had been having an affair. The other woman had continued to actively pursue him even after he married me, and it seems she eventually succeeded in taking him away from me. On social media, there were many laments from my ex-husband like raising children is tough. Taking care of a baby makes me feel old. My daughter doesn't get attached to me. I want to escape this life. I can't take it anymore. The woman he had an affair with seems to be a university graduate and a company employee, and my ex-husband emphasized this point on social media, saying she was the opposite of his high school graduate, caregiver wife. Seeing that, anger welled up inside me. I looked into whether I could legally claim alimony, but since I had already received a small amount of property division due to the child support and sudden divorce, it seemed difficult to claim more. I decided not to think about money anymore. Now I just needed to focus solely on raising my daughter. I had no room to spare thoughts for my ex-husband. I set aside my pride, left my daughter with my in-laws during the day, and devoted myself fully to childcare after returning from work. Fortunately, my daughter has grown up smoothly without any major illnesses or injuries. That was the greatest happiness. At work, they considered my situation, and even in the midst of a severe staff shortage, they flexibly adjusted the shifts when my daughter was ill. Additionally, I received a lot of advice and help from colleagues who had experience with childcare. I am truly grateful for all the support I continue to receive in various ways. My daughter loved her grandparents very much, and sometimes she would turn away pouting when I came to pick her up. On the other hand, when I tried to go to work in the morning, she would resist being held by her grandmother and cried for me, which was confusing but also pleased me. Now that my daughter has turned 2 and started attending nursery school, we rely less on my in-laws. "It's a bit sad that she's going to nursery school now," said my mother-in-law. Although my mother-in-law felt lonely not seeing her as often, I think it's not good to rely on my in-laws forever. At the nursery, there were surprisingly many single mothers like me raising children. Having similar circumstances made conversations lively, and talking with each other often refreshed our mood. As we continued these daily routines, my daughter's 3rd birthday arrived. I gave her her beloved chocolate cake and the makeup set she had been looking forward to, and we spent her birthday together. I think it was about 3 days later. Exhausted from a night shift, I had dropped my daughter off at nursery and was soundly asleep on the sofa when suddenly the doorbell rang. I usually ignored the doorbell, unless I was expecting a delivery or had prior notice, as dealing with unexpected matters had become increasingly troublesome. However, that day the ringing persisted, prompting me to get up and check the monitor, where I saw my parents and sister, whom I hadn't been in contact with for a long time. Pressing the button in surprise, my mother immediately began to speak. "Delia, it's Mom. Are you doing well? We've come because there's something we need to talk about. Your sister is getting married." My mother spoke with a joyful expression, then urged my sister to speak. For my sister was neatly dressed. "Hey sis, it's been a while. We came to see your house today." "What's the rush?" "So it's hot outside, can we come in? I also want to give you the wedding invitation." Reluctantly, I opened the door. Immediately, my parents brushed past me, commenting, "It's quite spacious, isn't it?" as they made themselves at home inside. I couldn't grasp what was happening and tried desperately to stop them, but they paid no heed to my protests. There are 2 bedrooms, so it seems we could even fit a large bed. There's even a storage room. The kitchen pantry is included, and it looks like there's enough storage. As they continued to inspect each room, I became more agitated. "But weren't you supposed to just deliver an invitation? What are you doing looking around the house as you please? We're family. What's there to be troubled about?" The ease with which they mentioned family left me momentarily speechless. There was no bond that could truly be called familial between me and those 3. "Now that we've seen inside, what do you think?" "Yeah, it was your house, Delia, but I think it passes muster. He'll surely agree if it's this house. Just make sure to clean every nook and cranny before moving in." Then it's settled. Seeing me stunned, my mother turned back and said, "Delia, could you possibly hand over your house to your sister?" "What?" "I intend to pay the rent properly. How about $50 a month as a sisterly discount?" Here's what my mother was thinking. My sister wanted to start a new life in her own home with the person she loved as they got married. However, she had no savings and couldn't afford to build a new home. That's why they came to me. It seems my parents had secretly investigated and knew that I had just bought the house and was divorced, raising my daughter alone. "This house is too big for just 2 people. It would be better for the house if you gave it to a sister who is planning to have many children." It's not about that. Isn't it hard for you too, living in this house full of memories with your ex-husband? I'll take over and live here instead for your sake. I'll pay rent, so it's good, right? She said this so nonchalantly. The reason I distanced myself from my family was that I left home after graduating high school and getting a job. all three of them never thought of me as family. From my childhood through my student years, I was treated like I was invisible. The reason was clear. It was because my mother remarried. My current father was my stepfather, and there was a 7-year age gap between my sister and me. We have different fathers. When I was little, my father and mother were always arguing fiercely. I wanted them to get along, and I tried to mediate their fights, but one night, in a rage, my father threw my mother and me out of the house. My mother took me with her to her parents' house, and we lived there for about 2 to 3 years. As soon as my parents' divorce was finalized, my mother said, "I want to introduce you to David, a man who has been helpful to me at work." That man is now my father. The wedding ceremony was conducted with just the two of them. No relatives were invited, and I didn't even attend the ceremony. On that day, I was studying at home. When my mother registered the marriage, she was already pregnant. Soon after, my sister was born. However, even before my sister's birth, I was treated as if I didn't exist in the house. Initially, my stepfather made an effort to engage in conversation, but gradually he lost interest in me. Even when I spoke to him, his responses were cold, and he would not even look at my face. My mother's behavior was terrible too. After she started living with my stepfather, she never met my eyes. Even when I was in the living room, they acted as if I wasn't there, talking only with each other. When they took a bath, they would close the hot water even though I hadn't bathed it. Initially, I thought they just wanted to enjoy their newlywed life, but that was not the case. Once my sister was born, both my father and mother prioritized her above everything else. I thought it was inevitable while my sister was a baby, but the situation remained the same as she grew up. One day, looking in the mirror, I realized something. My face closely resembled my father's. The resemblance had probably been strong since I was young. I think my mother felt annoyed by me after remarrying, as I reminded her of her ex-husband. It was the moment I realized why I was treated as non-existent in our home. My sister seemed to have a faint awareness of our situation. Perhaps that's why, when we were young, she used to share the snacks she received with me, giving me half. From the brand new set of pencils given only to my sister, she gave me one and often expressed sympathy for me, saying, "I feel sorry for you, sister," and took care of me in various ways. I was comforted by such kindness from my sister. I resolved to always cherish her. However, as she entered middle school, our relationship began to change. Whenever our parents bought her something new, she would immediately boast about it to me. "I got this too. They only buy stuff for me, not for you, huh? Do you want this? I already got one before, so I can give it to you." The way she looked down on me, as if a wealthy person pitying a poor one, was evident in her expressions and words. Initially, I thought it was my own jealousy shaping her words, but as it happened repeatedly, I realized that wasn't the case. She was mocking me, feeling superior. The moment I realized that, the only support I had in my family was gone. No matter how much I wanted to avoid her, she would come to my room on her own, using our parents' love as a shield to brag. My parents continued to ignore me. When we joined club activities in school, I was often left without a meal, or the food just sat on the table all cold. At least it was in the fridge. Enduring such situations every day nearly broke my spirit. Feeling that I couldn't go on like this, I firmly decided, I'll leave this house once I graduate from high school, and that determination helped me get through my student life. In today's world, even a high school graduate can make it. I initially didn't choose caregiving as a job I particularly wanted. However, as I worked, I began to find fulfillment in it. Being less fortunate with family, the job was challenging but became a source of emotional support, and my colleagues, both seniors and juniors, were all kind and dependable. Due to these circumstances, I had kept my distance from my family for a long time. Yet suddenly they looked me up, came to my house without permission, rummaged through it, and made an unreasonable demand like handing over the house for $50 rent, which made me question their common sense. I couldn't stand my sister's irrational attitude, thinking my belongings were hers. It's a house full of memories with my ex-husband, but it's a precious home that I worked hard to buy with the money I saved. It might be too big for two, but we like it here, so I have no intention of giving it to my sister. You should build your own house with your own money. Are you struggling that much financially? Just because you only graduated high school, you act all high and mighty. I'm a public servant, so I have more money than you. I'm just saying this house is too good for you, so you should leave. Isn't it said that caregivers don't earn much considering the work they do? Wouldn't you appreciate the rental income? Being a single parent, you must need the money, right? Don't talk to me about rental income of $50 a month. That's nowhere near enough to cover the mortgage repayments. Hey, you still have a mortgage. You should be the one to pay it off to the end. That's right, you bought it, so you should take responsibility until the end. Enough. I'm not giving this house to anyone, so leave. I don't even plan to attend the wedding. You've always been an unattractive child. I don't take it out on me just because I look so much like Dad. I don't even think of you as my mother. Carried away by emotion, I said this, and my mother, furious, shouted back with 3 times the intensity. I managed to drive my mother out of the house, and my father and sister hurriedly followed her out. I watched them leave and slam the door shut. Don't come here anymore. Leave me alone. I couldn't leave the spot until I saw them disappear. The harsh words showered on me by my family, whom I had not seen in a long time, brought back painful memories I had almost forgotten, stirring turmoil in my chest and making me feel nauseous. However, I couldn't afford to take time off work, so I went to my job despite being sleep-deprived. Finally, when my day off arrived, the turmoil in my heart had not subsided. So, I left my daughter with my in-laws and hopped on a train alone to a certain destination. I went to a church famous for warding off evil. It was a church renowned nationwide, a bit far from home, but I went there desperately seeking a blessing to ward off evil. And I received a prayer for protection at the church. Although my daughter was grumpy for being taken to her grandparents' house on her day off, when I explained, I went to ask God to prevent any misfortune from befalling our home, her expression became intrigued. What's misfortune? It means unexpected bad events. I asked for protection to keep our home safe from such things. I want to pray to God too. Saying this, my daughter sat on the sofa and began to pray softly. The following week, as usual, I picked up my daughter from nursery and did some shopping on our way home. The moment I opened the front door of our house, I felt the presence of someone inside. I quickly moved my daughter away from the house, telling her, "Wait here," and then I went back inside alone, grabbing an umbrella from the entrance. I heard some noises coming from the living room. Thinking it must be a burglar, I steeled myself open the living room door and screamed. Aha! I didn't even know what I was yelling, but I frantically swung the umbrella around, raising my voice. Yeah? Startled by my charging in with the umbrella, the person who fell backwards was not a burglar, but my sister. Why you're here? That's my line. You scared me. I'm the one who's shocked. What are you doing here? Upon closer inspection, I noticed the living room window was broken. My sister had entered the house through that window. Moreover, she was rummaging through the cupboard. I frantically grabbed my smartphone. Wait, who are you calling? The police. There's a burglar in the house. I'm not a burglar. If you're not a burglar, then what do you call breaking into a house through a window? As if saying she wouldn't let that happen, my sister charged at me, trying to snatch away my smartphone. Stay away. Give me the phone. Stop it, you thief. I told you I'm not a thief. You are definitely a burglar. My sister and I were shouting nonsensical things at each other as we grappled. That's when it happened. There's a thief. A thief. There's a bad person here. My daughter's voice could be heard from outside. Worried, she had come home and quietly opened the front door, probably hearing the word thief. Thief, thief, somebody help. My daughter was running around the neighborhood, screaming loudly. That sneaky little. When my sister tried to head outside towards my daughter, I grabbed her and desperately tried to prevent her from going outside. At that moment, our neighbor, Mr. Watson, and Mr. Allen from across the street came rushing into the house wielding a baseball bat and a golf club, shouting loudly. Old Mr. Carter, who lives nearby and whose hobby is gardening, also entered through the living room window holding large shovels in both hands. While I was tending to the garden flowers, I was truly grateful that I had greeted him before. I felt proud of myself for having established a conversational relationship with Mr. Watson and Mr. Allen. Building relationships with neighbors really is beneficial. In such a situation, I was slightly moved and almost teared up. Perhaps realizing that her situation was hopeless, my sister stopped resisting and collapsed on the spot. Seeing this, the neighbors firmly restrained her. Worried about my daughter, I hurried outside, and Mrs. Watson was there embracing her. The moment I saw my daughter's face and felt relieved, I heard the sound of a police siren. My sister was handed over to the police by the neighbors and was being questioned in the police car. I repeatedly expressed my gratitude to the neighbors and hugged my daughter tightly. So it's all thanks to you, Nora. When someone said that, Nora shouted, "Begone, evil spirit." I wondered where she had learned such a phrase. Nora then began mimicking a pastor's gestures. This caused all the neighbors to start laughing, and the tumultuous atmosphere calmed down a bit. Shortly after, my pale-faced parents arrived. They must have been contacted by the police. Tears streaming down her face, my mother apologized and said, "Delia, just listen. Please help her pay off her debts." "Hey, what debts?" "She messed up with stocks." Stocks. At that moment, everything that had happened clicked in my mind. Including what I found out later, it appears that my sister got involved in stocks because her income was insufficient. The reason was her boyfriend. She wanted to impress him with gifts and meals, but her salary made that difficult. At that time, my sister saw a dubious advertisement claiming easy money could be made from stocks. She bought the product and began trading with enthusiasm, but the result was a loss. Still, she had already boasted to her boyfriend that she would build a new house for their married life. And when she became desperate, she came to me asking for my house. After I turned her away, she continued trading stocks, saying next time it'll be fine, and ended up accumulating a huge debt which her parents eventually found out about. Ultimately, that led her to try to steal money from my house. Perhaps because I had always been an easy target to dominate since we were young, my sister may have become quite stubborn. "You don't care about me, just give me the money without saying anything. I needed to pay off my debts," she yelled. Breaking into a house and stealing money just because we're family is still a crime. And whatever the circumstances, I have no money to give you. "How dare you say that? I don't want to hear it from someone whose husband left her. I will be loved by my husband and have a happy family surrounded by children. You commit a crime and still say such things? What? Both of you stop it now. Delia, don't be so harsh. She's your sister after all. Give her a little help." "This person is not my sister. I'll let you, Mom and Dad, help her if you want. To me, she's nothing, she's not family." "Don't come near me, you thief. Begone, evil spirit." My daughter, standing behind me, started mimicking an exorcism again. My parents, who were red-faced, approached my daughter but were stopped by the police, and all three were taken to the police station. I hadn't been concerned about what happened to my sister after that, but my mother came to my house a while after and said, "Please help Delia. I apologize for everything," while asking for money. "Even if you apologize, I can't forgive you. We are strangers now, so don't come to me for help. If you don't leave, I'll call the police again." With that, I turned my mother away. According to my mother, my sister's boyfriend found out about the burglary and her stock-related debts and ran off. The rumors even spread to her workplace, and she was forced to resign. Since then, the three of them have disappeared. Curious and wanting to avoid being seen, I passed by my parents' house and saw it was up for sale. According to the neighborhood gossip, they may have fled in the night. I wonder if it was the blessing from the church, known for warding off evil, or was it the effect of my daughter's exorcism? The disappearance of the three of them so suddenly did feel a bit eerie, but perhaps it was fate, given the already frail ties of our family. Afterwards, my daughter became completely engrossed in playing a pastor, often mimicking exorcisms even at nursery school. Next time there's a chance, I would like to capture that in a photo.